And hello again, YouTube. It is 4:25 p.m. Friday, November 4th, 2022. I'm on my way to Bullock's Cocktails. I do have to work a mandatory overtime shift, which I swapped. They've still got my mandatory overtime day set on Thursday, which is really frustrating. Because I was told, a month ago when I had that big argument with HR about it, and I had put in for a schedule change that would make my mandatory overtime day into Saturday. I was told that it takes 2 weeks for that to happen. Well, now it's been like 4 weeks, and it apparently still hasn't happened. So, yeah, not happy about that. I don't know, got some mixed feelings. I'm really frustrated with just the whole, working all the time and not having. Wow, so I'm just noticing on the right how much of those buildings have gone in since I started coming this way regularly. Anyway, I looked over, saw the new buildings, and lost my train of thought. So yeah, really frustrated with the whole the fact that 50 hours a week plus a karaoke show is just leaving with me with no life, and just very frustrated and very tired, And I mean, I've got my daughter in town now, but I've just got absolutely no time to spend with her, even though I haven't seen her in the better part of a year. I mean, I did get to spend a little bit of time with her yesterday before I went into my show, but not much, not really. And that kind of got impeded on by Priscilla showing up, which, of course, there was no bedroom fun with me and Priscilla. There wasn't anything between me and Priscilla. She was talking with Allison the whole time, which kind of cut in on my time with my daughter Allison, and I just kind of got frustrated and laid in the bedroom by myself. Edited together my last vlog in iMovie, and did a little bit of work on that. And 3930, there's where that office is that I went to yesterday for my storage. Speaking of my storage, so yeah, apparently those people are not very good at searching stuff by name. To be fair, I don't think my storage is being done very well, and I think it might be a mistake that Vivan made, but my two older, smaller units get billed, from what I can tell, they get billed separately than my newer, larger unit. Now, I don't know why those aren't all put together. It seems like I asked about it once, and Vivan said that there was nothing that she could do about that she couldn't, because of the way their system was. I love it whenever, things that should be simple to do, and the explanation that I get, and I'm not just talking about U-Store. I mean, I see this all over the place. It's blah, 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 our system. And so often that's true. Like, everybody's just bound by whatever software that they're using that either isn't capable of doing it, or the people operating it haven't been shown how to do certain things that you think would be simple, and that if they were done on paper would be simple, but because everything's done on computers and through apps and through software, it's not. Like, an example that comes to mind is when I was working in prep and receive week before last over at Amazon, when I would be working on a case, box, whatever you want to call it, of CDs or DVDs, or in one instance, I got one that was kind of half and half, CDs and DVDs with some Blu-rays in it. Every time I get one of those, there would be many of the individual titles, because they're all separate items. Many of the individual titles that would need to go to ATAC, and the way the system is programmed, and again, it's quote-unquote the system, each individual one that pops up that's not doesn't have all the information needed that needs to go to ATAC to be weighed, measured, and photographs taken, and description properly done, and so on and so forth, would get flagged an individual tote number, which ran me out of totes insanely fast. And I did have the water spiders who were getting tired of bringing me so many totes that were like, well, hey, can't you just put those all in one tote? And of course my answer was, well, I can't because of the system. And yeah, you don't think it would be, like, why hasn't somebody who does that software considered that situation and put it into the system where when it tells you need an ATAC container and, to scan a separate ATAC container, when you scan it, have a button on the console to close ATAC container. So you could start a separate ATAC container, and when you decide that, okay, that's cluttering up your workspace, or you're done, or it's full, or whatever, that you can hit that button to close the ATAC container, and then all that can go in one container to ATAC, taking up one space on the conveyors, as opposed to all these separate totes going to ATAC one at a time, each with one individual CD or one individual DVD or one little teeny tiny, like one time I sent a thing to ATAC and it consisted of, I think, 6 little tiny springs in a plastic bag. Amazon literally sells everything, so yeah, it was a lot of those ATAC containers. It just seems senseless how little I was sending it in. And granted, there are times I would have probably closed it out with not much in it, just because, hey, this shit's in my way. But certainly when I'm working on a pallet, or I want to say pallet, I'm so used to working with pallets. When I'm working on a box, it's sending stuff to ATAC. Like sometimes I'd work on a box of clothing, where there were, like, I worked on one, I remember, it sticks in my mind, that it was toddler clothing. A whole bunch of different mixed toddler clothing. And while one of everything didn't go to ATAC, there was quite a bit. I want to say there's maybe 9 or 10 different items, and this is just like, 1 or 2 toddler shirts, in a bag together, or maybe a matching outfit of pants and a shirt, toddler clothes. And certainly until I made it to the end of that case, everything that was going to ATAC, I could have easily, kept one ATAC container, one tote that's designated as ATAC in my workspace until I was done with all the toddler clothes, and opened my next box and realized, okay, this is all the same thing and it's not going to ATAC, so close out the ATAC container, send it on its way. But I was limited by the system. Now, as to whether or not the system at U-Store actually limits Bevan from consolidating all 3 of my storage units into one invoice, I'm really doubtful. I think she just doesn't know how to do it. But I don't know. I don't know enough about their software system to say that with certainty. What I do know is that when I go through my online banking, I have I know when I did forms for her, because they make me do all these like stupid forms as opposed to just like swipe my card and click yes, like with everybody else I set auto payments on, or just doing it over the phone with somebody verbally, which the only credit card company, the thing I've ever set up payments with is I do know I had trouble with that. When I set up all my auto payments on my credit cards, I did have problems with that with Capital One. But everybody else, it was easy. Capital One and all my utilities and stuff. I've got pretty much everything. I think I have everything on auto pay except my electric bill. Just because living in Arizona, the amount of my electric bill can fluctuate so wildly depending on air conditioning usage and how hot it is in a summer month. Speaking of which, I've actually had my air conditioning off now for about a month, so my next electric bill is going to be like wonderfully small. And I haven't turned the heat on yet, but it was kind of chilly this morning. I did grab an extra blanket, so I don't know. I'm just hoping I can leave that whole system off for a while. It has warmed up a bit more today. It's a little chillier than it has been. Yesterday was straight up cold. I mean, not cold by most of the United States standards, but certainly cold by Phoenix standards. Like I want to say it was in the upper 50s, lower 60s during the day, and even it was really chilly when I left the bar last night. I do have my Amazon hoodie with me, by the way, because I found I need it. This afternoon, it's not exactly warm, but it's not cold either. It's actually really beautiful out. A little bit cool. It's really, really nice. I don't know the temperature, but I do have data on my Obama phone. I suppose I could look at it real quick. Oh, no, I can't, because I got me a green arrow onto Missouri. Yay. So anyway, back to the thing with my storage. So yeah, every time I've had to like deal with stuff like that with Bevan, it's always been like a super pain in the ass because of how many forms I have to fill out. And she's always, well, it's because you need one for each unit. Why? You're charging one card for one service. Storage. Well, that's just the way it is. It's our system. Yeah, okay, your system sucks. Let your boss know that their system is awful. Meanwhile, I stay there because all my stuff is there. It would be, horribly inconvenient to move it. And from what I've heard, like the storage fees there are really, really low compared to like everybody else. So, but the biggest thing is I just ain't got time or the means to move all my stuff. But anyway, anyway, when it shows up in my online banking, there's a charge for my large unit, and then a separate charge for my two small units. It always shows up as two separate charges. Anyway, since I went in to handle it yesterday, I've noticed that the charge has gone through. That one of the charges has gone through, and not the other. And I also receive invoices emailed to me. I hate the way they do their email invoices. I'm old school. I'm of the opinion that for anything like that, email should just be straight ANSI text for just simple backwards compatibility with everything. But no, that's not the way uStore does it. Their emails are PDF files sent as attachments, which, yeah, takes up a lot of space, a lot of email server space, which is annoying and requires additional software and shit to open. Kind of inconvenient. For the most part, I do 90% of my computing on smartphones, one of which is a really low-end Android that I got free as an Obama phone. So yeah, things that are resource hungry and difficult to deal with, such as PDF files, are yeah, I'm not happy when I have to do that. So anyway, I noticed that I got a PDF file with a receipt for my two smaller units. Apparently, when they handled my stuff at the office yesterday, completely didn't notice that I had the big one. Now, granted, I didn't tell them what unit numbers. In fact, when I went in and she asked, because I had mentioned in my video yesterday that after being told that I could just send them images of my new credit card, which is almost identical to my old credit card, except for it has a different CCV, and it has a different expiration date, obviously, because the old one expired end of last month. The other thing that's different, and this is like a completely separate sort of thing, but I feel it's worth mentioning, is that my old credit card had the raised textured numbers for creating a card, for leaving an imprint on a carbon copy type credit card form. And apparently those are just so simply not used anymore that while my new card looks like it has those kind of numbers and it's in that font, and they're raised a little bit, they're not raised in the same way that would create an imprint. So I guess imprinting credit card forms are now 100% a thing of the past, which kind of makes me sad for reasons I can't fully explain. Somewhere in my piles of junk I have a rather old school, one of those style credit card machines that it's got the suction cups for putting it on your countertop, and it's got the big thing that goes ka-chunk ka-chunk across the top, and I've got a plate for it for myself for Dan the Taxi Man, which I used back when I used to process credit cards as a cab driver. And speaking of processing credit cards as a cab driver, look, there's a VIP cab, VIP taxi on the right, number 841, and looks very much like the Prius that I destroyed a little over a year ago. Still got my VIP taxi ID hanging in my car, by the way, right there. Boop. Oh God, I love that job for the 4 days I did it. So sad that ended the way it did. Not that I'm completely disliking Amazon these days. I'm happy to be back on a forklift. Did totes last night. I think I kind of tried to explain it a bit in my last vlog, but I didn't really go into much detail on it because I had so many different things on my mind. But there was one moment that was just absolutely retarded, like a retarded Amazon moment, where something that at a normal workplace would have been like, oh, those fell down, well, let's just pick them up and go on with our day, and ended up becoming something that I want to say wasted 30 minutes and disrupted like 3/4 of the warehouse and caused me to be horrendously behind. Now, it wasn't anything I did. Basically, I was waiting at the mercy of other people who were just escalating and making a giant mountain range out of a molehill. But yeah, some totes fell down off a bound pallet of them, bound PPP pallet of them or UPP bound pallet. Well, this isn't much better than Missouri was. I went up to Bethany instead of Missouri because when I looked at the traffic view, Missouri was backed up red all the way from 12th Street to, that guy's being creative. It was red all the way from 12th Street to looked like 7th Avenue. But yeah, this isn't much better. Then again, it's 4:43 p.m. on a Friday, so you know, what the hell do I expect? I really was going to try to head to Pollux earlier than this, but oh well. I just couldn't. I don't know. Trying to find the motivation to get out of bed is really difficult these days. Anyway, yeah, the tote thing. It was just the one bound pallet of totes, the straps that hold the lid to the base that keep the totes together had come undone, and I want to say like 2 or 3. There's 6 piles of empty totes on a bundle of empty totes, on a pallet of empty totes, and I want to say like 3 of them, maybe 4 of them, had completely fallen sideways inside the truck. Now, generally speaking, you got 2 pallets side by side that like very tightly fill a truck, but sometimes they'll put on the back end, they'll put one in the middle, and then they'll have it held with packing straps, which are these like come-along straps for securing loads inside semi-truck trailers. Anybody who's worked in that industry will be familiar with what I'm talking about. And anybody who hasn't probably has no idea, and I'm not good at explaining what they are. And for what it's worth, I'm not really good at using them either. Of all the stuff that I got to deal with at work, that's like the one thing I seem to struggle the most with. And you'd think it'd be it's infinitely simpler thing than driving a forklift, but I'm good at driving the forklift. I just struggle like crazy trying to secure and undo those stupid come-along straps. Anyway, straps were I think the top strap had become loose as well from that, and it's hard to say whether that came undone because of the securement straps on the UPP lid not being adequately tight, or if it came apart because the come along straps that was holding the load, the back end of that load in the truck had come loose. And to be honest, I mean, what difference does it make? The bottom line is that there's at that top, the top of the two back pallets had come undone. Had completely come undone, and some of it had come down in the truck. Now, keep in mind, it's not merchandise. There's nothing damaged there. They're plastic totes. They're damn near indestructible. And even if one or two of them did get cracked, it's really not a big deal. Like, we have a procedure for dealing with that within Amazon. Like, anytime you find a cracked tote, it just goes into where the cracked totes are and gets dealt with accordingly. Dirty totes go one direction, cracked totes go another direction. They supposedly get recycled, crushed, recycled. The plastic does, and then the dirty ones get actually wiped down and then put back into circulation. Anyway, but yeah, not a big deal. I don't think there's really any inventory that goes with that, and if it does, it gets handled by whoever handles broken totes. So, in the worst case scenario, a couple of those totes might have needed to be separated out and put in with broken totes. I actually was the one who put the pallet of totes back together after all the. I want to say this whole thing ended up involving two upper level managers, a lower level manager, two upper level managers, two lower level managers, and of course, my TDR guy, what it started with, and also one person from safety. So yeah, a total of 6 people handling something that I want to say, as the TDR guy, I probably would have handled myself, although part of doing TDR is taking a picture with a tablet of what the load is like when I open it, and it's very possible that I'm not trained on that, so it's very possible that it's just like one of those Amazon rules that if something is not 100% perfect with the load, then it needs to be documented in the picture and escalated, and maybe that's why the TDR guy didn't want to deal with it. I don't know. To me, the logical thing seems to be, it's like, okay, it's totes. Get them down, stack, get somebody to help you, stack them by hand, and if there's broken ones, set them aside. And it turns out there were no broken ones, so that was ended up being completely a non-issue. But yeah, it happened like the door got open like right before lunch. Right before lunch break. I want to say like 11:53 p.m. And I'm the one, unloading the totes that night. So I'm off my forklift looking at it, and there's one of the other forklift drivers that kind of came over just to kind of look at it. And then the forklift driver who was doubling as the TDR guy. And for those who don't know what that means, the TDR guy is I forget what TDR stands for, but that's the person that basically opens and closes the dock doors, and also operates the ramp, which connects to the inside of the trailer. And in the instance of roll down trailer doors, also secures those. Anyway, so they were both looking at it and kind of hemming and hawing, and I was looking at that and I'm like, oh, that's fucking fabulous. And they're trying to decide what to do, and I guess the big decision from them was like, well, do we just clean up this mess ourselves, or do we escalate it? And they seemed kind of undecided, and of course I was the one who chipped in with, oh my, look at the time, how about we just close that door and go to lunch? Which is what we did. I mean, the reality is that simply dealing with it would have taken more than the time we had before we needed to go to lunch. So it made no sense. Actually, I don't think I said to close the door, because I wouldn't have supported closing the door. The door was already open. I would have left the door open and just left it as it was, and dealt with it when we got back from lunch. But yeah, when I got back from lunch, the TDR guy and the other driver did not come back. So I'm in my area. I assume somebody's supposed to be coming back to handle that. It's not like they weren't aware of the situation. And so I proceeded to finish the half trailer of totes that I had. And by the time I got that done, like, it still hadn't been handled, at which time I went and found, actually I think it was like, that was about the time that the lower level manager, which is called a PA, had walked by. So I went over to him and I was like, hey, they still haven't come to deal with that door. And I explained to him like what had happened before lunch. And he's like, oh, apparently they hadn't told him either. Again, not my job to tell him. I told him because he was there. And I was still waiting for that door to be handled. And I was just about out of totes, which means that I'm kind of out of work. And then, you know, if I run out of totes and then my buffers run out of work, then everybody that comes and gets totes to me and takes them to other departments so they can use them to work, they run out of work as well, which is what involved like a couple other managers. Oh, and let's not forget how many water spiders were standing around with pallet jacks just sitting there, you know, staring at the whole situation. Which, like, don't you fuckers have anything else to do? No. Okay, cool. Stand around. And I guess I was kind of in the standing around, just looking, just watching department as well, but which is frustrating to me. But whatever. Anyway, he opened the door and was like, decided that he didn't want to deal with it, and got his next level up manager who decided they better call safety, and of course we got to wait for that guy to show up, and it was just ridiculous. And of course, in that amount of time, like, all the totes that I had buffered up had run out. Oh, and then to complicate it, the other tote door, which is separate from the 3 that I was working, dock 339, where I had my first incident, bumping into a barrier. Dock 339, apparently somebody had docked a truck there that was not totes. So that guy was just basically standing over there next to his forklift. I think that guy probably spent 3 hours Thursday night just standing around next to his forklift doing nothing. I don't know. I just can't do that. I'll be cleaning and sweeping before I'll be standing around just staring at my forklift doing nothing. There's got to be something I can do. I'm there to work. I'll fall asleep. I'm bored out of my mind just standing there. There's got to be something I can do. Anyway, so that was for Thursday night. But yeah, it actually kind of was satisfying to me, because the only AM that it all kind of drilled me about. Well, I did have 2 different AMs drill me about me not always wearing my gloves while I was working in prep and receive. And one of them was like very reasonable. When initially I kind of came off like an asshole to him, and I was a little more like, I'm sorry, I don't even know you. I should, take a step back. I'm being a dick here. And then him and I kind of hit an understanding where he's like, hey, if there is an incident, I'm going to tell them that I told you they need to have them on at all times. So I'm like, yeah, well, I would expect you to do nothing less. So that's fine. But I don't expect there'll be an incident. I'm very concerned about not hurting my hands as well. Yeah, it was somebody who was a little more, I don't know. She's just like, felt like she was, dude, get the fuck out the road. Felt like she was nitpicking about stuff, to the point I found her kind of annoying, and that she's struck me as just really young and dumb. Anyway, in the midst of the whole tote debacle, she came over, and she is an AM. I mean, she's just an upper level, at least a level 4 manager, 4 manager. So, but yeah, she came up and was like complaining about the tote situation. Like you hear complaining doesn't change the situation at all. Back to your department. Back to your department and wait for totes. Go look in other places of the building, see if you can round some up. We're they've escalated this into a safety situation, which I did help them unload it, but the whole thing was ridiculous. Anyway, yay, I'm here. I was thinking about going by the office there that's handling my storage. I was also thinking about calling them and saying, hey, it looks like you charged me for 2 of my units, but not the other one, blah, blah, blah. Oh, and when I went in, so the website she sent me to, she initially said I was going to have to just take pictures of my credit card and just send them to her as email attachments, which seemed like a pretty simple solution. And then she sent me this website, and went to the website. I really didn't like the arrangement of the website. It was kind of confusing, but the main hang-up for me with it was that it required that I put in my unit numbers, and I don't know my unit numbers offhand. My storage unit numbers. I know where they are. If I don't know the numbers. I'm not really good at memorizing numbers that are not relevant. I don't need the numbers to find the units. I just go to where they are. I have my own padlocks on them. So yeah, that put me at a standstill then, and I suppose I could have called them and asked them the units and went forward on the website, but of course when I was trying to do the website is when they're not open. When they're open, I just soon go talk to them face to face. I really don't like doing stuff on the phone. I really, really don't. And generally when I'm trying to handle stuff online, like I'm not doing that during, business hours are my sleeping hours. Bottom line on that, because of working, 50 hours a week, 10-hour shifts all night long, plus, a karaoke show on Thursdays. And an upcoming Christmas party that I haven't really figured out how I'm going to handle. And then Priscilla reminded we've got concert tickets coming up soon for Jane's Addiction and Smashing Pumpkins. And that's on a Friday, which would normally be my day off, but with the mandatory overtime, I'm not sure it's going to work out like that. Anyway, I'm here. I need to go in and handle my stuff. I'm not pressed for time, though, which is a good thing. I do need to stop and get socks at some point. Buy socks. I got my safety shoes on my seat here, but I do need to get some socks. I'm just wearing my flip-flops right now, because it's still warm enough in Phoenix to wear flip-flops, which is nice. Anyway, I thought about maybe going, calling them and dealing with that and saying, hey, it appears you only charged me for 2 of my 3 units. I came in and brought my credit card so you could handle all of that. It's definitely on them. I mean, I was in their office and, they didn't do all their job. So if they're going to try to charge me a late fee on the 1 unit, I'm definitely going to contest it because, hey, I was there to pay it. Why did you guys fuck that up? But, yeah, you know what? They have no way of knowing that I've figured that out at this point. Fuck it. I'll deal with that on Monday. Or maybe Tuesday. Or maybe tomorrow. I'm not sure if they're open Saturdays or not. Anyway, right now I'm gonna actually go in and try to work on music a little bit. Got my Sennheiser headphones with me. I stocked the paper in the books. Got paper and pencils in there. So do a little bit of karaoke work. Hopefully I got here in time for tacos. It's 4:55. Well, 4:55, which is probably actually 4:59. I think I'll be able to get tacos. Heather's been taking really good care of me lately. In fact, I did post it on Snapchat, but I haven't posted it on YouTube yet. I was super depressed when I came into my show yesterday. Just the situation with Priscilla, plus my daughter, plus Amazon. Don't get me wrong, I'm loving the job as far as what I'm doing for work. I'm just really frustrated with the whole, we offer flexible schedules. By the way, overtime is mandatory and you need to go on Thursday and you can't take vacation time because of peak and blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, this is suddenly not very flexible because it's killing me. Thanks. I'm too old for this shit. I got other things in my life that I don't have 50 hours a week to be in this warehouse. I just don't. 40 hours is pushing it. So all that together and just, the whole add into that I got no lover. And Priscilla's not fulfilling that need whatsoever these days. So yeah, that's kind of frustrating. It's 5 o'clock.
It's a pretty sizable.
I hate how that volume knob doesn't work very well.
Being this close to the
4 days to go to election day, and most of the polls confirm the major races in Arizona will be close. Also,
yeah, I still haven't filled out my ballot. It's too late to mail it, so I'm gonna have to drop it off at one of those drop spots. I'll probably drop it off right at the county recorder's office. That always feels the best. Anyway, yeah, so I was super depressed when I got to Bullocks yesterday, and Heather, the bartender, completely made my day. She's like, "Hey, I got something for you. I got a present for you." I'm like, "Really? Wow!" And she actually bought for me on eBay. It's not like something that she found and was going to throw away and, you know, save from the trash and routed to me, which is most, like, usually when people give me old tapes or electronics equipment, that's what it is. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate that as well. Love that people think of me and actually give me their old media rather than throwing it away or just donating it to a thrift store. But I think she actually went on eBay. Actually, she said she bought 2 lots of tapes on eBay. She gave me a big box full of 8-track tapes, and they're not just random crap 8-track tapes. Most of them seem to be in good to very good shape, and most of them, not all of them, but most of them are very good titles. And some of them that other people would not consider good titles are things I consider good titles because they're obscure things that I really like. Like, I think I saw 3 different oh my God, I'm gonna say the guy's name wrong. I want to say Andrew Segoviva. I'm probably saying it wrong. Anyway, a classical guitarist that I got into about 1.5 years ago on a random cassette that was in a collection that I acquired. Never heard of him before, and I just played the shit out of that cassette for like a month. Could not get enough of it. It's just this soothing Spanish style classical guitar. With these just great arrangements. So yeah, really looking forward to 3 8-tracks of that. So far, the only tape out of that box I've listened to is David Bowie, Ziggy Stardust, which plays great. Like, it's in perfect shape. It doesn't need any maintenance or repair. It's just amazingly, it's fine. It's an RCA cartridge. The United States. David Bowie, for the most part, was, especially at his like early and most, you know, the more pivotal point of his career, his earlier career, he's, you know, on RCA Records, and RCA 8-tracks, easily the best made 8-tracks. It's not unusual for an RCA 8-track from the early 70s to mid 70s to still be completely functional and not need any servicing at all. They used felt pads on metal springs, which are durable. They don't, occasionally the glue gives out on them and you got to reglue them, but it's not unusual for them to still be secured in great shape. Whatever kind of metal foil splice they use seems to have a better grade of glue, that many of which are still holding up now, you know, nearly 50 years later. And the cartridges are glued together in a way that's very, very secure. And they have a very reliable mechanism with the reel inside that just, it's amazing how many RCA cartridges I have from the early 70s and mid 70s that still play perfectly fine, that I've never had to service. Now, when they do need service, oh my Lord, those are hard to open. They're very hard to open. But a lot of times the only servicing they need is just the felt pads replaced or glued. But this Bowie tape sounds amazing. I listened to about half of it before heading out today. Anyway, that made my night. Definitely put me in a better frame of mind. This show did take. I didn't have many singers last night. In fact, I think it's the least singers I've ever had at a show here. So I kind of had to fall back on like my DJing, which it seemed to be all right. I didn't really have the dance floor packed as I normally do, but it had its moments. But for the most part, everybody seemed to be having a good time. It seemed to be a good vibe, and my music seemed to be pretty much on point, which is saying something considering how musically uninspired I felt last night. but I seem to mix it up well, and I seem to make a couple people's like nights where I can't believe you're playing this. God, I love this kind of moments. I could see with some people. So, yeah. Anyway, all in all, I feel like it was a good show, but it did. I was kind of an emotionally distraught place when I got here, and by the end of the night, I was just so overwhelmed that as soon as I put on the closing song by Red Peters, also known as "Get the Fuck Out of Here," I literally laid down on the floor in the back end of the DJ booth behind DJ Cat's equipment and passed out. And I think I slept for about 15 minutes because I was just so physically and emotionally, and not just physically, but just mentally and emotionally exhausted. And after I got up, I just was too tired and groggy to deal with taking my stuff down. I was just like, you know what, I'll come get it tomorrow. And just drove straight home, probably fell asleep almost instantly. And Allison was crashed on the couch when I got there, all dark in the living room. I don't like... I gotta figure out what I'm doing with her. She's planning on staying at my place for a while, maybe the bulk of the next 6 months, and which is all well and good. I mean, I have no intentions of turning my daughter out, but yeah, I need to get her into Lily's bedroom and on her old bed, which is actually Allison's old bed. I mean, it was Lily's bed, but it was, that was Allison's bed, when she was a little girl. I mean, that she quit using it when she was 4, when her mother took her away from me. But yeah, she but needs to be her bed now. As weird as it might be for her, sleeping on a bunk bed at age 20, like, I need her to fuck off my couch, because when I get home from work, I want to be able to sit down and enjoy my living room. I mean, that was half the reason I got Priscilla the hell out of there. So, yeah. But at this point, I'm working all the time, so I haven't, like I said, I saw her a little bit yesterday after I got back. Actually, I got back from the storage unit, and she still wasn't there, but she showed up, I want to say maybe 30-40 minutes before Priscilla did. But yeah, she was asleep when I got home. I want to say I got home probably about 3:30 in the morning, 3 in the morning. And at one point I kind of woke up early in the morning, like 7 a.m. I'm like, yeah, this is not the right time for me to be waking up. Fortunately, I was able to get back to sleep. Yeah, she was crashed out on the couch then. And then when I finally actually got up at about 3:30 in the afternoon, she was gone. So didn't tell me when she was going, where she was going, or when she would be back, and that's fine. I mean, she's 20. It's not like she really owes me that sort of an explanation. She's an adult, but I still kind of like to know, as long as she's living with me, a little, something. But I don't know. Hopefully we'll sort that out soon. Anyway, I need to get inside. Every minute I spend out here in the car is that much less of a chance of me getting tacos, and damn it, I need my tacos right now.